foodie friends, and welcome to another episode of Cast Iron Conversations with your host, the one and only Chef Pat Lee. We are coming to a close on our first season of the podcast, so if you're listening to this for the first time, I ask that you kindly go ahead and subscribe to catch up on old episodes, and check out our latest episodes as we broadcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and wherever podcasts are broadcasted. Now, with that being said, let's get into this episode. My guest for today is an amazing chef, an amazing creator, food reviewer, and a super talented individual in the kitchen and a real, genuine, down-to-earth human being. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me esteemed pleasure to welcome to the podcast my good friend, the one and only Royale Eats. My friend.
What's going on?
How's it been?
Man, it's been good. Life has been great. How about yourself? How's the family?
Everybody's doing great, man. Thanks for asking. Nothing but blessings on this end, and I hope the same for you as well.
Likewise, of course, for sure.
So, for the people not familiar with the Royale Eats platform, just tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey as a creator, and how did you get started?
Yeah, so Royale Eats, man, it goes all the way back to, just me with my family. Born and raised in the DMV area. I had family roots in North Carolina, in a small little hick town in North Carolina. And in that town, it's not even a traffic light. Like, it's so country, man. But it's home. It's home, and it's where I feel I developed my love and passion for food. Especially considering, just the purposes of food. I feel like that's why I really learned the purpose of food and how it's supposed to serve us, just as people. You feel me? As far as it being nurturing to us and, being able to bring people together. These are all things that I learned from my family, so that's the foundation of Royale Eats. It's really just family and connection and, just making sure we eating good,
That's a great story. And I always wanted to know where the name Royale Eats came from. I think you kind of gave a little bit about that in your description, but what about the name Royale Eats stands out the most to you?
Well, Royale, that's actually my name. Like, it's a part of my name. I'm not going to say with thought, because I know some people be trying to do things, but yeah, it's a part of my name. I got to give a shout out to my mom for that. She had the vision with adding that to my name. And, as a kid, it just, I don't know. I didn't really think anything much of it. It was just a name. But, as I got older, I started to realize, like, all right, like, this is, it's not the typical everyday name. And I think when it came to me establishing a business, as far as with Royale Eats, I know that the name like Royale in itself, or like Royal, it kind of has a connotation to itself. So I just used that to build off of that and connect it to, myself, eating good food. So that's how we got Royale and we got Eats, put it together.
It's a great story, man. And speaking of your mom and your family, I actually had the pleasure of meeting your mom and your family out when you had your cooking class. Mm-hmm. And one thing I definitely noticed is that you have a really supportive and encouraging family. And I, for one, think that's admirable, especially considering how much work you put into building your brand. They put just as much as support in. They just put as much of it as supporting you. And it's crazy because I know for a lot of content creators and even professionals in our industry, they have a lot of complaints and issues with family supporting them and friends supporting them. How does it feel just to know that you have a family that puts that much effort into supporting you grow as you do for yourself?
For sure. It's a blessing. I've even had conversations with my mom plenty of times. Like you said, you met my mom. My mom is at times, sometimes feels over supportive, but it's one of them things where I'd rather have, too much support, quote unquote, than not enough. I know how it is to, be in positions or be interested in certain things and, not really have, support from family and friends and stuff like that in certain spaces. Lucky enough for me, lucky enough and fortunate enough and blessed enough to have family and friends that, one, have always, supported me the best that they could. And, I think when it came to the food, I mean, who don't like food? Who don't like food? So, and with me, the same love and support that they give me, I give back to them. So when they saw me doing what I'm doing with this, they were, full-fledged, just, whatever ways they could help, telling their friends and other people about it and things like that. It was so much going on to the point where I didn't even know I'm being spoken about and brought about in other conversations and things like that, from my family and friends, and them just doing genuine organic support. Like, they weren't looking for anything from me. They were just happy to see me doing something with my life and, wanting to make myself better, and they can see the passion, so I'm so thankful for them. Like, it doesn't continue without them. And even friends like you, 100%, Pat, like you and, your family, support me at my events and stuff like that. Like, none of this happens without y'all. So I'm thankful. That's all I can say. I'm thankful and I'm blessed.
And it's a great thing to have, especially when you consider how, well, any type of content creation space really is. From my own personal experiences, people can get so cutthroat and have such a me mentality. But one of the things that I feel gravitated me towards you as a person and a creator is that we think of community and we think of building those foundations, because we know for firsthand, when you have a community, everybody eats, everybody grows, and we put ourselves in positions to where, yeah, I'm going to make it, but if you support me, I'm going to make sure I show that same love and support back.
For sure. And like you said, I think it comes down to just a couple different factors, but most importantly, like how you mentioned, like, if you want support from others, you have to be willing to support others as well. And a lot of the times, from what I've noticed, just from, just who I am from my personal experience, as far as supporting others, that's something that's always run in my family, as far as being there for each other and doing it without looking for something in return, I think that's the biggest thing, and when it comes to just life and how we live life, I truly believe that there are, different laws in the universe. Of course, I don't know how spiritual everyone is and things like that, but, I truly believe that there are laws in the universe, and the law of giving is one of the biggest things that I've been practicing. Just as far as being in a space where you truly want to give to others, and when you give, you get back in return. Sometimes you get back even more, but I feel the key to it is truly doing it from a place of, just kindness. I feel like when you're doing things, you're always looking for something in return. You can lead yourself to being disappointed. So when you're in those spaces where you're genuinely trying to give, I feel like you get back in return.
Well said. Well said. Now, don't hate me for this next question, but I know you've been known for your recipes. But one of the things that I'm sure you're aware that you're known of is the voiceovers. And a lot of people have said, you sound like Billy D. Williams when you do the voiceovers. You have the quiet storm radio voice, the smooth jazz voice. How do you feel about that when people come up to you about the voiceovers?
Man, it's one of them things I've had to grow to like and to love about it. Just as far as, the identity that it has, with Royale Eats. I will say it was not intentional. When I need y'all to understand this. I do not try to seduce anybody. I don't try to make anybody uncomfortable. Like, none of that. I literally just be talking, and, if y'all hear me now, traditionally, like, my voice, I have a faster speaking voice, just considering, the area I'm from, growing up in the DMV and then having family in New York and stuff like that. You typically talk faster on the East Coast, so for me, when I'm speaking and doing my voiceovers, I'm just speaking in a way of like, all right, if I had someone teaching me something, how would I want them to talk to me? You feel me? And that's where it comes down to, where when I'm making these videos, I'm doing these instructions, I'm just trying to speak in a way to where it's like, hey, if you're following along with this, especially in short form content, it moves very fast. You really only get about a minute to try to hold somebody's attention. Anything over the net, that's when you start to spill into long form. So, doing a short form, it's just finding that perfect balance between creating a guided pace while also trying to fit enough in within a short amount of time. And yeah, it's been one of those things where I've even had to learn, like, as far as how to do voiceovers. It's been a progressive thing. Like, I've tried to go back and listen to some of my older voiceovers, and I cringe. You know what I'm saying? Like, just hearing my progression, I cringe. Sometimes I'm like, that sentence could have flowed a little better, or this could have been a little better, or I could have, adjusted, my voice a little bit better here. But yeah, all in all, I appreciate everyone that has, saw that, in what I do and found an appreciation for it, and I just try to become better and better at it, knowing that that's a part of, like, my brand's identity and things like that. So I constantly try to work on it. But again, like I said, I'm not trying to be weird or anything like that. I'm just trying to, get people to understand the recipes.
Yeah. And I sincerely relate to that. And it's also a good tip for a lot of upcoming content creators as well, because I often find myself struggling, especially with short form content, on one, trying to have that balance between giving you all the information you need for this recipe, speaking as clear and concise as possible, but also trying to still capture your attention. Because I originally grew up in Brooklyn. So naturally, when I talk to people, I talk fast and we have an understanding.
Right.
But when you're on social media, because I've had comments like this before, somebody will tell me, "Oh, can you slow down your pace?" And in my head, I'm thinking, "Well, this is me talking slower." So more often than not, when you start to talk a little slower and start to clear up your words, it can come across, as having that particular type of voice when really you're just trying to pace yourself for your audience. And another thing that you mentioned that also stood out to me was just going back and critiquing some of your older voiceovers. And it's a good thing that you actually did mention that, because in my career as a content creator and a chef now, we're all still learning, we're all still growing, and we're all doing things to kind of keep ourselves relevant and to continue to build our brands. But a lot of the smaller content creators that are just starting think that, we've mastered everything, that we're perfect. And they don't realize that we are often our own biggest critics. And sometimes I'll go back to a video and I'll look at the way I filmed it or edited it compared to something that I did now. And then I'll think to myself, I could have did a way better job with that. I could have said this a little bit more clearer or got to the point with that. So with what I just said, just two questions for you out of that. And I'll start with the first one. What would you say to a newer content creator that approaches you and just in general, they feel like they're stuck or they feel like they don't have any way to grow? What advice would you give them?
Great question. I would say the most important thing is, one, ask yourself, what are you doing it for? And I say that because if it's tied into, I'm doing this because, I want to help out so-and-so, or I want to get this notoriety and all those different things. Like, those are all valid reasons. And I would never tell you, they're bad. But what I found through my experience, just through my experience as Royale Eats and developing Royale Eats, getting to a space where you're doing it for yourself and for your own improvement and what you want, that's what's going to allow you to keep going. Because doing content creation, one, is business, what I'm saying? And business in itself is extremely tough, and I didn't realize that before getting into it. When I got into it, it was, me just trying to see, what can I do with this? What I'm saying? So if you're just creating content from it, just trying to entertain and have fun, by all means, you're on your own journey with that, and be sure to enjoy it and have fun. But if you're in a space where, you're taking it serious, like, all right, I'm going to start a business with this, just really hone in on your why you're doing it, because you're going to face different challenges at different points. You might come out the gate, steaming, you hot, all your content is hidden. And then you may hit a point where it's like, all right, the algorithm may be tripping a little bit, or, Instagram might not be working as good, or TikTok might not be working as good. They're not sharing your videos, and you're going to hit a point where you're just like, all right, this isn't working. I don't know what's going on, and I've seen people hit those points and I don't see their content anymore. What I'm saying? But then I've also seen people hit those points, went through the trials and tribulations with that, and then came back 10 times stronger, So when you're really doing it, because you're genuinely trying to grow something and you're trying to better yourself, I feel like that's what really keeps you going and keeps you there along the journey and the progression. So yeah, just really hone in on your why. That's what I would say to that.
Excellent points. And you actually answered part of my next question, but I'll word it in a different way so we can get a more elaborate answer. But one of the things that a lot of us as content creators often face is roadblocks. And I myself have faced those roadblocks where you kind of make it to where your videos get a certain level of views and you're used to being featured on the For You pages and the Explore pages, and your videos start to go viral. And then you hit that plateau where it's like, well, damn, like my videos aren't hitting as much as they should. And for some of us, like I'll use myself as an example personally. I had a period of time around March and April where my videos weren't doing as well. So then I kind of had to think, like, what is it about my videos that I could change? Should I show myself more on camera, which I started doing more of. Should I show a different angle to cooking? Should I make it a little bit shorter? And I've started to get my stride back. But as we've seen over the past few years, there's a lot of content creators who don't really have that mentality, and they lose that stride, and they completely miss out on having content. So what advice would you give to a creator? And this isn't a newer creator. It could be someone who's been in the game as long as us or even longer. What advice would you have to somebody who wants to say, you know what, my content isn't doing what it's supposed to do anymore, and I just want to give up?
Well, I'll say one, don't give up. Two, I'll say embrace it. That's what I've had to learn. I've had to learn to embrace it. I've faced so many different roadblocks since I've started. You know what I'm saying? I've like we spoke earlier, I've been my toughest critic. There is not one comment that I've seen or anything like that, feedback that I've got from anybody that's been harsher than I've been on myself. That's because I'm a perfectionist. I can't help it. You know what I'm saying? So with me, when I face those moments where, you could probably relate to this. I feel like the videos I put the most effort into probably perform the least. Yep. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like almost every content creator that I talk to, no matter whether it's food, fashion, makeup, sports, no matter what field they're in, some of the videos you feel like you put your best effort into and things like that, like you overly analyze everything. Those videos sometimes don't turn out the best. I can't explain it, but I found myself in those spaces, and when I face roadblocks, I've had plenty of moments since I've been doing this. I think I'm going on year? I want to say 3 or 4. One of the two. It's been in this for a little minute, and I've hit so many points where I was like, man, I don't think this is it. Like, I started talking to my family, like, well, I don't know what else to do. Like, I put so much into this, you know what I'm saying? But what I found in those times where I sat down with myself and I asked myself, like, all right, bro, like, what are we going to do? That's when I've got some of my greatest ideas. I feel like that's when I felt that pressure, and that pressure kind of really created them diamonds, so I was able to get even more ideas. Like, through the roadblock is when I got the idea for the cooking class. So it's just like, I tell anybody, just to sum it up, I know I be going on tangents and stuff like that.
No, it's perfectly fine.
Just to sum it up, I say embrace it, allow it to challenge you, allow it to question yourself, allow it to make you think of new things that you might not have thought about when you were comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's a saying I've been hearing my entire life. And when I started doing this is when it really started to make sense. You know what I'm saying? Because when you get bigger and bigger platforms, shoot, even if you got a smaller platform, like we said, you get that one video that hit that For You page, and now you got millions. You could have had 10 followers the day before, but you had that one video that hit, and now millions of people are seeing it. So it's like, it does cause a lot of pressure, but if you embrace it and you just appreciate the journey, like, don't try to worry about the end goal, just appreciate the journey that you're going on and developing within yourself, and you'll be able to overcome any roadblock. I truly believe.
And I definitely think it's important that we as content creators, whether you start off small or you end up big, have to realize that at some point, like you said, you're going to face a roadblock, and you have to kind of think of different ways to not only grow your page, but monetize. Case in point, for example, for you, you started to do the cooking classes, which I actually had the privilege of attending, and they've been really great classes. So if you're in the DMV area, I highly suggest that you go to one of his classes. It's a really good experience. One of the things that I know for myself that I started trying to do is kind of do a little bit more behind the scenes work, because I noticed that there are a lot of content creators who will have mountains and mountains of content, but they just don't put it out there. So I've always thought of myself as someone who, when I worked in corporate America, I was a great manager, and I was great on helping people with organization and kind of setting up schedules. So one of the things I'm actually starting to look into doing, hopefully getting to start off by I'd probably say by end of July, August, is becoming a social media manager. So for a lot of upcoming creators, if you need help with editing videos, I'm going to start helping you with that. If you need help with coming up with a content schedule, measuring your analytics, looking for ways to grow your platform, not just for Instagram, but on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, I'm going to help people with that. But it's having that mentality that will help you stay relevant as a creator, because even look at basketball players or athletes. You're not going to be on the court forever. You're not going to be in the field playing football. So a lot of times when they know that their athletic career is over, they start, investing in businesses, or they'll start to, start putting the name on products. So this way that monetization happens even when they're not in the field anymore. But, just to shorten it up, because I go on tangents myself, but you want to make sure that you stay relevant by not limiting yourself as the creator. There's multiple ways you can monetize. There's multiple ways you can grow. You just have to have that confidence and ability to believe that you can do more than what's put in front of you.
100%. I agree. Just piggybacking off the example you got, I've been fortunate enough to grow up with a lot of athletes, in my time, that I went to school with. A lot of guys have gone to the NFL and NBA, some of the MLB, just being around those guys, it's taught me a lot. In particular, like you mentioned, when they're doing their sport, they're performing at the highest level, they're in their mid 20s, early 30s, you know what I'm saying? By the time they retire, most athletes retire, before they're 35, you know what I'm saying? So you got to think like you got a lot of life to live after that, and with anything, if you want to do it forever, do it forever. But, when I looked at this, particularly with myself going into content creation, I'll probably say after like year one, I started thinking like, all right, I love doing this, but I know I can't do it forever. You know what I'm saying? And I automatically started to think about different ideas like, all right, how do we branch out? How do we diversify? How do we add on, to the brand? And also, in case something were to happen, you know what I'm saying? If social media was to go down, if Instagram's to go down, we already hearing about what's going on with TikTok, when I started hearing those things, even more so reinforced like, all right, we have to create other avenues, to keep the business going. So definitely diversifying is probably one of the most important things. And also, I feel like it'll help anybody, kind of ease their mind a little bit. So you're not just focused on just one thing, you know what I'm saying? So in case that one thing starts to, act up, you got these other things that you already started to build, so it kind of relieves stress off of you. So yeah, the diversification is important and it's huge. And I recommend it to anybody, anything that they do, but particularly, for content creators, who we're speaking to right now.
Yeah, it's a real good point. So one of the things about being a content creator, which I'm sure you can relate to, is that a lot of us didn't really grow up with this path in mind. Like I came from working in finance and banking, and I transitioned from that to being a chef. I know from conversations we had briefly after college, you mentioned that you were trying to find something that you felt passionate about, and you kind of got into cooking. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that, and just what was that moment you would feel that you what was that moment? Sorry, what was that moment you'd say you feel made you realize this is what I want to do and this is the path that I want to choose?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just kind of like going back a little bit to the beginning of when Royale Eats first started. I had just graduated with my master's, and this is in the heart of the pandemic. So it was like, all right, we celebrating. I graduated. I got this degree, but I can't get a job. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the most humbling thing ever. I questioned everything, questioned myself, the whole nine. And when it came to Royale Eats, at the time, I had a friend that they were, get into content creation. This is when TikTok was really getting big, over the pandemic, and they were doing, content for themselves. And, everybody, I guess, as far as like close family and friends, knew me, love food, have a passion for food, but I never in a million years thought I would have been, kind of having a business that's like I have right now or anything like that. It was just a hobby, a passion, something that, I had early on, to something that I loved. And when I started to post like food pictures, like that's things that I made during the day. I had so much time on my hands. Like I said, we're in a pandemic, so I had so much time on my hands. I was just posting stuff that I was making, getting different ideas and stuff like that, and posting the pictures like my story and things like that. And people was asking like, "Yo, like, where'd you get this from?" Like, and I'm like, "I made it." You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it was nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, nah, I just made this at the crib. Like, then I had people start asking for food and things like that. And then, like I said, the friend that I had that was, they started getting into content. They was like, yo, like, why don't you create a food page? And I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I fought it for the longest time. I really did. And then I was like, you know what? Like, let's just do it. Like, what we got to lose? You know what I'm saying? And when I did it, it was extremely raw. Like, I remember my first videos. I don't even think I would show anybody those right now. Like, it was extremely raw, man. But it gave me a starting point. It gave me a starting point. And as I started to do it, when I started to see the feedback from people where it was like, all right, these people don't even owe me anything. My platform, I don't even think I had probably over 100 followers at the time, but I was getting people, complete strangers, giving me feedback on things, you know what I'm saying? Like, that they liked the ideas that I had. They liked the dish and the way it looked, even though they could tell, like, all right, he's new to this, but they saw that I had something with it. And I feel the moment that I knew, like, all right, we got something, we might want to take this serious. I had did a Old Bay, like some honey Old Bay wings. Mm-hmm. And I had did those in the recipe, it went up. Like, it just went up, and it found its way on Twitter. And that's when I was like, all right, if it make it to Twitter and people on Twitter like it, mm-hmm. we gotta keep going. Because I don't care, no other platform that you have, if you go to Twitter or something ends up on Twitter, you're going to get the 100% honest feedback from everybody. And sometimes it's not even be honest. You're going to have people that might like what you're doing, and they still going to be negative just because. So it's like, I'm getting a bunch of positive feedback on Twitter. That's when I was like, all right, like, we got to keep going. Like, we don't know exactly how to do this. We don't really know even where we're going with this, but we got to keep going. I think that's the moment when I was like, all right, like, we here. Let's just figure it out.
One thing that you had mentioned that I feel a lot of us are, well, I don't want to say blessed because it wasn't really that great of a time for the world, but a lot of us kind of built our platforms during the pandemic. I know for myself personally, that's when I started to come up because, everybody was home. Nobody else had anything else to do. So it was a great time for our platforms to kind of grow because you had more eyes on social media. And now, as social media starts to push more content creators, for a lot of people who are in the game long term and people who are just joining the platform, it's a little bit more challenging. Do you feel that the pandemic is something that, because I think about this question a lot too, so if you struggle with it, then I completely understand because I'm still thinking about it too, but do you often ask yourself, if the pandemic didn't happen, would I be where I'm at now? Or do you think that, if you're not, if anybody out there isn't religious or spiritual, I apologize, but do you feel like if it weren't for God's timing and, spirit and the universe making moves, you would still be doing this whether the pandemic happened or not?
Honestly, I truly can't say. I truly cannot say because the pandemic gave me so much time on my hands, just like many other people. And like you said, it's tough considering how much went on during the pandemic, just the negative side about it, the people we lost, the people that got sick, the people that went through different financial crises, what I'm saying? So much happened in it that make you be able to look at it and be like, this is probably one of the worst things that's ever happened, during, anyone's lifetime. But then you have the caveat on it where there were a lot of things that came out of it that were positive, just like any situation where you're able to make, lemonade out of lemons. And with me, like we said, excuse us if anyone isn't as spiritual or doesn't believe in, things that we believe in, but I have 100% belief in God. And during that time, I can say for myself that without God's grace, God's timing, and God's patience with me, I don't believe, well, like I said, I don't know, but just because, I haven't seen an alternative. But the way things turned out the way they turned out, it's hard for me to believe without the pandemic, Royale Eats happens. Without, God's guidance, Royale Eats happens. It's truly hard for me to say, like, without that, and that's one of the things where I say it was kind of just a blessing in disguise for me. And I was just fortunate enough that, I didn't get sick during the pandemic. Or experience, things that, really would, put me back like that. But, I will say that God 100% got me through that time. And, when I look back on it, the way everything happened and the order and everything happened, it's kind of hard for me to see without the pandemic, me having what I have right now. So it was just, one of them situations we turn, lemons into lemonade.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on that because I've been cooking since I was 7, and it was always something that I wanted to do, but
Mm.
I never thought of taking it as serious as I do now. It was just in the back of my head, oh, you can cook, and that was really it. And I felt
Mm.
like because of the pandemic, my whole entire department was laid off, and I had to kind of strategize and think what my next move was. So I thought to myself, well, you've been working for other people for like 15 years. Why not do something that makes you happy? And here we are now. But
Mm.
again, yeah, I do definitely believe that it's all about God's timing. I always wanted to do something that I felt I could do passionately, that I could work for myself, that I could wake up in the morning and I could do it all day. But once the day is over, I feel accomplished and I feel happy, and I feel that's what content creation and cooking has done for me and so many other people as well.
For
And
sure.
that would be a bit of advice that I would give to anybody who's looking to be a content creator. Don't do something just because it's viral. Don't do something because you feel like it's going to make money. Do it because at the end of the day, you feel happy about it. Do it because you feel like it gives you a sense of purpose and satisfaction. Because if you don't, then you're just going to end up doing something that's going to leave you unfulfilled. And you're just going to constantly look for things to fulfill you until you get to that point.
100%. I agree with that 100%. And that's with anything, whether it's content creation, whether you want to be a painter, you want to be a surgeon. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I feel like I've learned in this lifetime doing things if you have the ability to. Let me preface that. You have the ability to, because we do understand that sometimes people end up in positions where life happens. You know what I'm saying? Where you may start a family, super early, or anything happens, medical wise, with your health or anything like that. We understand things happen, but if you're in a position where you can do something for you, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Which more people are in those positions than they realize. I feel like a lot of times people succumb to their environment and what they have around them, or just things that's, happen in their life over time. But if you truly want to do something in this life, I believe you can do it. You might have to make certain sacrifices. You might have to, kind of stray away from certain relationships, the whole nine. But at the end of the day, you in control of your life.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you waking up, you can move your arms, you can move your legs, you can think for yourself. It really ain't no excuse. So if you're in that position that you have the ability to do something because you want to do it, please make sure that it's fulfilling to you. Like how he said, if you're chasing different trends or anything like that, you can find success in it. I'm not gonna say you're not gonna find success in it. I'm just speaking from my personal experience. I feel you're gonna find more fulfillment and be more at peace with yourself when you're
Mm-hmm.
doing things that you genuinely like to do and that you love to do, that you feel that, hey, I feel better when I do this. And, you know, I know it may be cliche or anything like that, but, I know it's super easy to get caught up in looking at, all right, like I did this video, it got 10,000 likes, right? Or I do this video and it got 500 likes, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you got 10,000 likes. Say you did the 10,000, you got the 10,000 off a video that went viral because you followed a trend. But then you
Mm-hmm.
got the 500 when you did something that was authentic to yourself and your own idea, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the thing about the video that went viral, if it wasn't your own original content, your own original idea, and it's great to do, it's great to get inspired by others and follow trends and stuff like that when you're building your platforms. But what you have to realize is when you're in that position and you gotta create again and do it over and over and over, you can't piggyback off of somebody else's platform the entire time. Eventually, if you want to have your platform to stand out on its own, you gotta find something unique to you and authentic to you to keep that going. You can't follow, in my opinion, you can't stick to trends and find fulfillment in that, because the minute you do a trend and it don't work out, now you're gonna question your whole ordeal. You know what I'm saying? You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna start questioning yourself, and that whole nine. So it's like, I believe, to get that true fulfillment within yourself,
Mm-hmm.
be organic, be authentic, for real. Like, just be organic, be authentic. Of course, find inspiration. You could do little things here and there, but to really be happy and be at peace with what you do, you have to be yourself. And there is a thin line that I see when it comes to it, because when it comes to just being original, being authentic and stuff like that, like, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, we're all inspired by somebody. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's somebody popular or somebody not as popular socially, like we all are inspired by somebody. Like there's nothing new that's done under the sun. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Right.
when we speak about originality, it comes from when you are able to be inspired, but then say, hey, if I did this, how would I do it? So you can take a concept, you can take different things, but at the end of the day, when you're trying to be, well, not trying, but when you are being authentic, you have to say, if I'm doing this and I'm doing this for myself, how would I do it? Like, especially like for recipes, most of the recipes that I've made, I'll probably say about 70 to 80% of them I got from inspiration from seeing from someone else make a recipe or being out at a restaurant and seeing a recipe or something like that. And then I asked myself, like, all right, if I did it, how would I do it? And then taking it from there. And that's where I found my originality at for myself and being authentic, because it's just like we said, with food, it's hard to create a brand new dish from scratch that takes no components from any other dish. But if you're able to take dishes or take concepts and then you sit down and you work it for yourself and say, hey, how does this feel? When you put that authentic love that you have and that authentic energy that you have into something, that's where I feel you get that, that authentic feel. You know what I'm saying? And I believe it was Virgil Abloh, the creative Virgil Abloh, recipes to him, but he had something where it was a percentage rule. I forget the exact percentage, where just to make things even easier for yourself to start out when you don't really know how to do something, being able to see something and then changing it by like a certain percentage. I forget the percentage he had, but we're gonna look it up, and y'all could probably look it up when y'all look for yourselves. But he said just to help you out for yourself, because if you're trying to start from a blank canvas every single time, you're going to be sitting for a little minute, you know what I'm saying? But if you are looking to, all right, I can be inspired, but I also can make it my own, that's when you take something that you see and you apply that percentage rule of just changing it just so it feels more authentic to you.
Excellent point. And I'm going to have to look up that percentage myself. And RIP to Virgil. He was definitely a pioneer in the fashion industry. And I'm trying to remember that percentage myself, but I'm going to look it up for sure. I'm definitely going to look it up. And speaking of pioneers, I know you may not necessarily think of yourself as a pioneer in the content creator industry when it comes to food, but I definitely see you as one of those people, kind of like some of the pioneers in our industry, like Golden Balance, One Stop Shop, Kimmy's Creations. That's kind of led the way for a lot of people of color to kind of stand out within this space. How does it feel to just know that, there are people out there who, they make recipes and then they tag you and say, hey, I made this inspired by Royale Eats? Or how does it feel to know that people are just like, oh, he's doing a cooking class, I need to sign up? I know it must feel like it must be an amazing feeling, but I know it definitely has to be humbling just to know that there are so many people who look up to you and just want to create and cook the same things that you make.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first I want to say thank you for seeing me as a pioneer.
No, definitely.
Thank you. I never looked at myself in any position like I was above, below, or anything like that. I've always looked at myself as a student, and all those creators that you named, those are all creators that I've looked up to. And, you can say like, hey, we're in the same category or kind of around the same area, but I've never looked at myself on being on a high pedestal or anything like that. Like I still, look at myself like, hey, I only got 2,000 followers. That's how I treat it. I keep myself as humble as possible, and that's just because when I was in high school, I had a coach, a football coach, and he told me, he's like, you're never as good as you think you are, but you're never as bad as you think you are either. Just kind of being in that middle space where you always feel like you have a level to go to and being able to grow, and, kind of just being in that space where, you're not being too hard on yourself, but you're also, not getting too big headed. You feel me? So that's why anytime anyone that's ever tagged me in something or say like, oh, like we made dinner by Royale Eats tonight, or they buy something of mine, or they support something of mine, to me, it's almost like it's the first time it's ever happened to me every time. You know what I'm saying? I'm always happy. I'm always grateful, and I'm always thankful for anybody that ever, takes appreciation to what I do. You know what I'm saying? Just because I just know, shoot, I just I just know this journey I've been on, man, just within myself personally. 'Cause that's one thing. Like, I'm young, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still in my 20s, like, just going through life. There's so much I've had to learn about life and learn about myself over the course of also trying to grow a brand and grow a business. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's been the most challenging thing I have ever done. You know what I'm saying? It's been extremely challenging. And like I said, I've questioned myself across the whole journey. But one thing I know about myself is that I know I'm not going to give up, and I know I'm going to keep trying to learn how to be better. So when people, give me the acknowledgement and let me know that they see my brand and that they appreciate what I'm doing and that they're inspired by me, shoot, that inspired me to keep going. So, hey.
Love the humbleness, man. And I've always believed in the mentality, and hopefully this catches on with a lot of people. But I feel as whatever profession you're doing, whether you're a creator, whether you're in fashion, food, lifestyle, you should have the confidence of someone who has 10 million followers, but the humbleness of somebody who only has 10 followers. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you think highly of your work and put that out there, but also just know that you can make the best videos possible. You can have the most banging voiceovers. You can put out a recipe that you think, oh, this is definitely gonna go viral, and only 5 people like it. And even though 5 people like it, that's still 5 people that you didn't know yesterday that existed. There are 5 people who didn't know of your platform previously. So no matter how big or small your gains are still gains.
100%. And like you said, the key to all of this, and I feel the key to life, is confidence in yourself and believing in yourself. Because like you said, like, shoot, to get to this point, going in I think it's year 4. I lost count, Pat. I ain't gonna lie.
We'll say year 4. We'll say year 4.
Yeah, it's about year 3 or year 4, one or two. But yeah, to get to this point, I've been very challenged, like I said, through the whole process. But one thing I know about myself, no matter what's going on, I've always believed in myself. And I always believe that anything I put my mind to, I can do. So, if I get the video that goes viral and blows up, great. But if I get the video that doesn't, it's like, yeah, it sucks, but it doesn't mean that I suck or like my things aren't good. It's just saying, hey, this is the feedback that we got to do something better. You know what I'm saying? There's something that we missed in the creative process that not necessarily could have been bad, but like, let's just say I created a bomb video, but those first 3 seconds wasn't that engaging. You know what I'm saying? Like that could have turned somebody else. So that tells me like, all right, well, I need to focus on my intros a little bit more and take everything as feedback. Like, don't take everything so personal. Like, you can't when you're doing this. You know what I'm saying? If you take everything when it comes to the space of content creation as personal, it's going to drive you crazy. It really will. You know what I'm saying? If you're able to look at everything as just, this is just a growing experience and being willing to grow, you know what I'm saying? But in the back of your mind, always knowing that, hey, I got this, I will figure this out, you'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? Just embrace that journey. But like you said, being confident in yourself will get you pretty much anywhere in life. I truly believe.
Well said, man. And want to elaborate. I want to touch upon another point because you mentioned confidence and you've mentioned challenges, and that's kind of been the theme for this podcast. And from what I've seen in your recipes, you would think that you've been a pro for like 30 plus years. Like, I love your recipes. I love how you try to bring something different to the table, but also something familiar and just something that everybody can make. But as with every chef and every content creator knows, there's always that one recipe that you go, man, I messed up and I got to try it again. And you just got to keep trying it until you get it perfect. So what would you say is your recipe that you felt like no matter what you did, it just did not come out the way that you wanted it to?
You know what's so funny? I was thinking about this earlier today. Like, I was literally just thinking about this. The recipe that I've tried many times on my own and where I literally had to seek help, I don't know why. Because like, it just wouldn't turn out the way I needed to. Like, every time I would make it, it's just like, yo, like something is just off. It's candy yams. And I'm ashamed to say that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
really?
Because, yes, like I've been eating candy yams for as long as I can remember, but for some reason, when it came to making candy yams, like when I was like, all right, like I need to make this recipe so that, you know, I can share with others and, you know, they can enjoy it as well. I struggled so much and it does not make sense to me. I like it's a lot of things that I've been able to make on a first try and like it came out good, things I never even had before. But candy yams being something that I've been eating my entire life and still eat to this day. And I struggled on it when I was trying to, you know, develop the recipe on it. Like, I felt so bad.
You know, I honestly, I'm gonna make you feel a little bit better because when I first started cooking, I could not make rice for my life. I used to always use a rice cooker, and that was like the easy way. But then my rice cooker broke, and I tried making it the way my grandmother used to make it, and it would always come out soggy and sticky. And no matter what method I tried, it didn't work for me until I tried this method that I learned from another chef who said to toast the rice first, and then you put water in or broth in it. But yeah, I don't judge anybody who says that they struggle with making anything, because I feel as chefs, we can make the most complicated dishes. We can make something for the very first time perfectly, but it's usually the simplest things that you just can't nail. I don't get it.
It be the simple stuff. And like you said, you can't even explain it. Like, candy yams, man, like I beat myself up about that for real. Like that's one of the things. But when I did learn it, you know, shout out to my mom. You know, she's the person that, you know, probably I think the first person I ever had candy yams from was when she made it, and she made it. It always turned out great. So when she told me like, all right, do this, do that, do that, I'm like, okay, cool. Like I got it. You know, there's nothing. I could, you know, I feel like I can make anything. You know, that's the confidence that I had. I feel like I can make anything. And when I tell you I made it like 3 times, I was like, yo, like something is off. And I can't explain it. And she had to really sit down with me, like had to like kind of relax me because like my nerves was getting bad. I'm like, yo, it's candy yams. Like, why am I struggling with candy yams? You know what I'm saying? But nah, she helped me out. She was a huge help on that. Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to moms.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's also a very encouraging story. And if any creators are listening to this, it just shows that no matter how far you come along or how great you are, there's always going to be something that you mess up on or something that you're not going to get exactly right. We come across as perfectionists on our content because you see what's edited and you see what we show out there. But I always feel like the best creators or even the best chefs in general are the ones who can own up to saying, hey, I may not know how to make this. I'm not perfect. But, you know, as long as we're all willing to learn and, like you said, still be students of the game, you know, we'll grow and we'll be fine.
100%, you know, be a student always. You know, even when you feel like you're the master, even when you might have a position as a master, you keep learning. You know what I'm saying? Like you're forever learning, especially in the space of food. Like there are so many different types of cuisines, so many countries that have things that's native to them, so many different techniques. You know, I've been in a space recently where I've just been embracing just culinary as the art, you know, and just knowing like, hey, where I really sat down and I asked myself like, yo, like we show this we want to do. And I was like, yeah, because I feel like I'd never be able to stop learning. So it's like, why wouldn't I want to do it? You know, it's fun, it's enjoying, it's nerve wracking, it's stressful, you know what I'm saying? But it's so fulfilling. It's so fulfilling, you know, and nothing beats working on something and getting someone else to, you know, experience your work and they love it. You know, that's greater than any dollar amount. You feel me? And that's what I do it for. And that's what I know a lot of others do it for getting that genuine feedback that somebody loved what you put your hard-earned energy into, your blood, your sweat, your tears into to create, and others love it. You know, it's nothing that beats that feeling.
Oh, nothing at all. And like he said, you know, you want to make sure that you remain a student of the game. And I'll never forget this because when I went to a networking event in New York one time, I got to meet this executive chef, and he always told me this. And it's an expression that everybody uses, but when he told it to me, it resonated with me. And he said, if you go into a room and you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And it took me a minute to kind of grasp that concept. But what he was telling me was that you don't want to be the person in the room that has all the knowledge. You want to be in a room where you have knowledge, but someone can teach you something. And if you're constantly putting yourself in those spaces, there's no limit to how you can grow because you're always going to be learning something, whether it's a new cooking technique, whether it's a new way of, you know, making content. Someone's going to teach you something, and it's only going to help you become a better person and a better creator. So never stop learning, always remain a student of the game, and just, you know, open your mind to learning new things.
100%. And like you said, You know, when it comes to that, you have to be willing to learn. Like you have to humble yourself. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be able to be in a space where it doesn't matter what that person's position, job title is, how much money they make. You can always learn from another human being. So, you know, that's my advice. You know, don't just go to something, or like if somebody is huge in this space and he's like, oh, like I'm going to this because I'm learning from them. Where it's like, yeah, like they have knowledge, but they're not the only person that has knowledge. You know, that person you might see at the corner store that's hanging out at the corner store, you might think is a homeless person or anything like that, or they don't know nothing. They probably got a lot of wisdom. You know, it just takes you to be humble enough to be willing to learn from somebody that you feel might not be in the space that you are. So yeah, with anything, no matter where you go in this life, always be a student, always be willing to learn and be willing to grow. And I feel like you can't go wrong there.
Well said. Well said. All right, before we wrap up, I want to play a quick game, if you don't mind. It's called Would You Rather Food Edition. I'm just going to ask you 4 questions, and you just have to let me know, would you rather for either one. So, first question, would you rather never have to eat wings again, or eat wings, but anytime you eat them, they're always bland?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go not eating them no more. I'll be honest, I'll be mad as hell if I eat wings and they bland every time. Like, you know, like of course you can always have your dipping sauces and stuff like that, but I feel like you eat something and it needs a sauce every time, you know, like it should make you question it.
Yeah.
So I would, that's a hard one. I love wings too, man. But if I eat in this bland every time, I just feel like it ain't need no point. So I'm just go without it.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. Would you rather eat savory foods for the rest of your life only, or sweet foods?
Savory.
I agree with that too.
Like I love sweets, but it's like as I've begun to like get older and stuff like that, it's just like my taste buds are changing, and like my tolerance for sweets is not like extremely low, but it's like I only eat but so much something sweet to where it's like, all right, like that's enough. You know, I definitely rather have savory. I don't feel like you got to get tired of eating something savory.
Yeah, I agree. As I get older, I feel like the more sweet food I eat or consume, I get more headaches. And, you know, nowadays I'm more about my health, and I'd rather kind of cut the sweetness out personally.
For sure. Especially with the processed sugars and all that stuff. Like, it don't even taste, a lot of stuff I used to eat growing up don't even taste the same no more. I'm like, I can't even eat this stuff no more, man.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this one's a controversial one because I didn't know people did this, but banana pudding without bananas or banana pudding with bananas?
That ain't controversial. It ain't banana pudding if it don't got bananas in it. Like, that is what it is. Like, we can go back and forth about this all day. You cannot call something banana pudding if there are no bananas in it. I don't care if you get a banana flavored pudding. Are there bananas in it? If the answer is no, it ain't banana pudding. You eating pudding. It ain't nothing wrong with eating pudding. If that's your prerogative, that's your prerogative. But where the bananas at? You feel me? Like, and I understand it because I've had people tell me they like, oh, but after it sit, like the bananas start to brown and it changes the texture. And it's like, I get that. I get it. So I saw somebody had did something where they took the bananas and they pureed the bananas and then they mixed that, like they folded it into the pudding, and then like they pureed it until it was like, you know, smooth, so it just, you know, kind of flowed into the texture. Now that I feel people want to go that route, I feel like that's the way of getting a perfect balance of it all. But I don't know, I really love just seeing the bananas and biting into the bananas and stuff like that. But it ain't banana pudding without bananas. I don't care.
No, I agree with you. The very first time I made a banana pudding recipe, it went viral, and I'm thinking that it went viral because people like the recipe. It went viral because people were going back and forth in the comments saying, oh, bananas are nasty, I don't like the texture. And I'm like, wait, so you don't put bananas in your banana pudding, then why are you calling it banana pudding then? It doesn't make sense.
It's just pudding. But like, I don't know. And I get that because I know people, like you said, I know people that despise bananas. I love bananas, but I get it where like you put bananas in anything, it becomes very overpowering, especially like smoothies and stuff like that at times if you don't have the perfect ratio. But nah, like banana pudding is banana pudding, man. Don't go messing up good food. You feel me? Like, don't do that. Don't do that. And I feel like, I don't know if you're gonna ask this one next, but sugar don't go on grits.
I wasn't gonna ask that one, but I'm glad you brought it up because I need somebody else to agree with me that sugar does not belong on grits at all.
Sugar don't go on grits. It is not that, try to tell you what you should eat because everybody got their own things. I get it, but grits are a savory dish, and if you experience some real savory grits, like you don't need no sugar. Sugar don't need to go on everything. We gotta think about our health, people. You know what I'm saying? It'd be a shame if your arm just, you know what I'm saying? Take the L because you won't put sugar in grits. That's all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. If your arm take that L, you feel me? Because you won't keep putting sugar in everything. I'm just saying it could have been savory, and we'll leave it at that. We'll go on to the next one.
And to all our Southern listeners and supporters, please don't get mad at us. We know y'all go heavy for the sugar and grits, but no, we like our grits savory. Sorry about that.
It gotta be savory, man. Eat some oatmeal, cream of wheat, something else. Don't disrespect grits like that. You know what I'm saying? It'll change your life with some good savory grits.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Actually, no, I had two more questions. Next question is, and I'm not judging you with what your answer with this one, but medium rare steak or well done steak?
Oh man. So this is what I say. All right. Growing up, I was one of those people that was just like, like it's blood. Why is the steak still bleeding? Like it's not cooked. Like, cook it well done. I was a big well done person. But as I started to really, get more into understanding food, understanding that, when you cook certain things at certain temperatures, you get certain different experiences with that dish, right? And I think for me, when it comes to it, I don't know about rare. All right. I don't know about rare, but I love a good medium well, a good well, well done steak, like medium well steak where it's a little pink in it still. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That way I feel, it's tender, the whole nine. Like it's just a good cook on it, and well done does tend to be chewy. So it's like if we can kind of get more to the medium well, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think I'll be all right. Medium rare is a lot for me. I don't think I got to that point yet. I'm gonna get there eventually, probably. Just the more and more food I eat, especially when it comes to steak. And I just started back eating steak, so yeah. I feel like if somebody could cook it right and they season it right and everything good, I feel like I could see myself doing it. But yeah, well done. I feel like I'm past those days of the well done, but I don't knock anybody that still does it.
I think medium rare is something that has to be an acquired taste because I make steak all the time in my house, and my wife always asks me to make her steaks medium to medium well. Mm-hmm. I like my steaks medium rare to medium. I don't like anything below medium rare, and I just actually found this out about 2 weeks ago. There's actually something called blue rare. So if you've seen what a rare steak is, it looks raw in the middle. Just imagine what a blue rare steak is, and that's like it's barely seared and it's barely cooked. But I don't know. We're not there, so I can't judge anybody.
What they do? Boil it just so it just cook the outside? Like how they do that? I'm confused.
So they sear the outside for literally a minute per side. Like usually when you make a steak, you're supposed to sear it on both sides. You baste it to however your temperature is, and then you let it rest. But when they make the blue rare steak, they literally just sear it just to get the sear, and then they let it rest afterwards. There's no basting. There's no finishing in the oven. So it's still kind of raw on the inside.
That's one of the things I'm going to say. I'm not going to knock it until I try it, but I have questions.
I believe that when it comes to food, I definitely do agree with don't knock it till you try it. But when it comes to anything raw, I would definitely 100% knock it. That's just me personally. Like I wouldn't eat a blue rare steak. I actually tried steak tartare one time. Never again. To this day, I still can't get how that's actually a dish, but teach their own. But yeah, just going back to the original question. Yeah, it's definitely a weird taste. But yeah, I personally a medium rare to medium person.
For sure. And I've just going back to the don't knock it till you try it. I've tried sugar and grits. It ain't better than savory grits. I just had to say it. I'm sorry, because I know some people that still do it, and I don't get it. It's just you older now. Stuff don't need to be sweet. Just put some cheese, some salt, some pepper in them grits, man. I'm sorry. All right, that's the last time I'm gonna speak on it. I'm gonna still do what y'all want to do. Y'all gotta eat it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to help y'all life out, but still do what you gotta do.
I'm still cracking up at the fact that you said you're gonna lose your arm.
That sugar, I'm trying to tell you, man. That sugar, that's what's killing us. They don't want to admit it. The sugar is what's killing us. But hey, it is what it is.
They're not ready for that conversation. All right, last question. A restaurant with terrible customer service, but every time you go, the food is 5-star, or a restaurant with an exceptional service and exceptional experience, but the food is average?
You know, that's one of the things where I just feel like, man, it depends on what mood you in that day. I feel like you can never go wrong with good food. You know, good customer service is essential in all facets. But if your customer service is great and the food isn't good, you know, I feel like it's going to be in a position where, like, hey, I may not leave a bad review, but I probably won't be back. I might not give that word of mouth marketing, you know what I'm saying? But I would appreciate the effort and what you put, you know, into the customer service. You know, that's not going to go unnoticed, but shoot, you know, you go to certain establishments, you know, they might be rude, you know what I'm saying? Might pass by you, you know what I'm saying? But when you get that food, oh, that go out the window when that food is, you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing. If you want to have bad customer service, that food better hit every single time for me to justify me coming back. You know, so to choose between the two, I'm gonna go with the bad customer service, good food, because it's like at the end of the day, I gotta pay for both. So if I'm paying, I want my food to be good. You know, just know that I probably won't speak when I go in there or nothing like that moving forward, but I'm coming for that food for sure.
I agree with you on that one. And I feel like anybody who's grown up in the hood or grown up in New York, if you go into a Jamaican restaurant and you know that the customer service is terrible, food is going to slap no matter what. I've gone to Jamaican restaurants where I've got cursed at, where I've got yelled at, where I've got called slow for not moving fast enough. And I come back every time because the food is just that good.
The food good, man. Hey, I feel like there's a lot of things you're able to put up with if the experience that you're trying to get from that is good, you know, as far as like food or anything else, you know, it can justify it, but customer service is essential because it's a precursor, you know. So it is like those places that do have bad customer service, they usually do have a good rap for good food, so they get back. But like you said, it's definitely a lot of international spots, particularly Jamaican spots. I've heard that a lot. You know, the customer service ain't that good.
Yeah, those are the best places if you ask me. If you go to a Jamaican restaurant and they give you 5-star customer service, the food is not good. I'm gonna let y'all know that right now.
Oh man.
Any last words for our audience?
Shoot. Well, I'll say I'm definitely thankful for this. You know, thankful for this time. You know, anyone that tunes in, you know, we appreciate you for tuning in. You know, this was extremely fun. I say that through everything, you know, just believe in yourself, keep going. You know what I'm saying? You'll be surprised that tomorrow might be your day, but you won't know if you stop today. So keep going, you know, truly keep going. And, you know, always look to grow, you know, never feel like you're in your best state. Even if everything in life is going great right now, still look for ways to like, all right, well, how can I, you know, maintain it, you know, because maintaining things is almost just as hard, if not harder, than getting to certain spots, you know. So when you get to those spaces where you are good in life, are good in business, are good in content creation, you know, really keen in and put that effort to maintain it, you know, and through everything, just believe in God, have faith in God, trust God. And, you know, when you do have that faith in God, no matter what's going on in life, you know, you can see the light at the end of that tunnel. So, you know, just believe in him, and I feel like everything will be all right. You know, everything will be all right. You know, life is complicated. It comes with many twists and turns, but you just keep your head up. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other. You'll get to where you're trying to go.
Absolutely. And I love our conversations. I'm definitely thankful that you took the time to join us on the podcast today. As always, you know, you're always welcome to come back and be a guest if you want to, you know, chat with us and, you know, just share any updates. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. It was a pleasure. Great conversation and great vibes from the one and only Royale Eats. Make sure you're following him on all of his social media platforms and subscribe to his blog for some of the best recipes you'll find on the internet. All of that information we placed in the description of this podcast. But that's it for this episode. Once again, thank you all for joining us on another episode of Cast Iron Conversations with your host, Chef Pat Lee. And as always, as long as you're willing to pull up a seat, You're always welcome to my table. And until the next time we feast, peace.